Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to do a small talk on the regimental history of the Royal Regiment of Wales. Now, the Royal Regiment of Wales came into being on the amalgamation of the Welsh Regiment, 41st Foot, and the 24th Regiment, which was the South Wales Borderers. In June 1969, on Cooper's Field in Cardiff, in the castle, there was a parade of the two regiments with His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales in attendance as the Colonel of the regiment, Colonel-in-Chief. The first member to become a member of the RRW, the Royal Regiment of Wales, was Taffy, when his coat was taken off him, which is the red coat which is in the museum on display, and the green coat was put on, and at that point he was a member of the Royal Regiment of Wales. Prior to that, the order was given: South Wales Borderers, Welsh Regiment, ground arms. All arms were ground. They stood up. The next order was pick up arms. And when they grounded the arms, they were individual regiments. When they picked up the arms, they were the Royal Regiment of Wales. They paraded around that area, and then we had a little reception after. The regiment at that time was stationed in Gravesend and Lydd, and the regiment moved down incomplete to Gravesend with the drums in Clark Camp and Drummy Davis 4-6. I do that because the name rungs up my back. When he's in Clark Camp, he was the boss at Clark Camp and no one else, and he was the boss of the drums. The regiment got moved over in August the 15th, we got moved over to Ballykelly. On the 15th at 3:10 in the morning, Lower Falls, the Royal Regiment of Wales were deployed. And we were deployed initially to look after the Catholics because the Protestants were picking on them and burning them out and doing everything, tarring them, tarred and feathered the lot. We stayed there for a couple of months, moved back, and we went to Osnabrück in Germany, BFBO 36. I don't know what it is now, well, it Billy Buckling's camp, but it was a good camp for us. Osnabrück, Quebec Barracks, and Roberts Barracks. We'd done a few tours of Northern Ireland there, and our next tour from there was in 1973. They went to Ballykelly, I don't know, I can't remember. But in 1975 we went to Berlin. Memory say, I'm getting old. We went to Berlin and we went to Brook Barracks. And that was an experience and a half, because Berlin was classed as a write-off basically, because if the Russians decided to start anything, no one could get in, no one could get out. The only thing you could do is kiss your backside goodbye. And everybody that was in Berlin unofficially was written off anyway for that tour, which was 2 years. We had a fantastic tour down there. We had the border patrols, which the recce were doing, which I was in. We had flag tours, which you went over to the east through Checkpoint Charlie and just drove round. And you had the train observer, where you went on the train, you had your meals, and every meal on the train just happened to be where you stopped with the Russian guards. Propaganda. We moved then from Berlin in 77 to Aldershot, Normandy Barracks. In Normandy Barracks, we'd done a tour in Belize, Central America. And we were up in the jungle area, Belfast, Belfast camp. It was an interesting one, but we didn't really know what we were doing there. I just happened to be standing up in the jungle one day and a tree hit me on the head. I was rushed to hospital. I thought I walked all the way, but I didn't. And I was out, but when I come round, they thought I'd fractured my skull. So I was in hospital for a couple of days, couple of weeks. But when I came out of hospital, they sent me back to Sabun to carry on with the jungle course, because if I didn't do the final exercise, I'd have to start it all again. The Recce platoon was a fantastic platoon. You had characters in there, like Chopper Reed, Graham Reed, who transferred over to the Army Air Corps. He made WO1 in the Air Corps, and very sad that he got killed while in the Army Air Corps. A very sad loss to his friends and a bigger loss to the regiment and the Army Air Corps. We had Ned the Rat, which was RS46, his brother. We used to call him Neddy because he looked like a rat. We had Dad Morgan, and Dad Morgan was a real character. When we first started, he used to get us on parade, and if you had an hangover or something like that, he'd make you puke. And then he turned around and said, don't do it again. The regiment then went from Aldershot to Lemgo, BFBO 41. Again, a very interesting tour. We were looking after the families, wives and children, as well as the troops. We had a fantastic team of medics there. We lost one, which was Keith Bowen, with cancer, which was a great loss. He was a good medic. And then we lost another one, Richie 42, he got posted. I think he got posted there somewhere. And they brought in some others. Like I say, we'd done our job and we were good at it. We got posted then from Lemgo to Warminster and become demonstration battalion. Again, we were reduced, we didn't look after families except when we were on night duty in the School of Infantry. So the regiment has been to a lot of places. We've been to Canada, we've been to America, Honduras, which is Belize, and I can really say we enjoyed it. The people in the regiment today, the Royal Welsh, are on a backtrack because they don't go nowhere. They left in the camp they're in, they will be there, their families don't travel with them, and I think that the ones that was in the regiment from 1969 to 2006 would say that they had a good time. The camaraderie within the regiment is still going strong. And Berlin, again, like I say, you had what we call FRIZ, Family Ration Infantry. It was in Berlin, they used to keep about 3 months' supply of food in cellars. And when the food got brought in, it got moved down the racking, and the food at the end was taken off, and it was sold then to the families. And you had a bread out there called bums bread. And it had a lifespan of about 2 months. You couldn't eat it until it was 10 days old. Experience, I'd love. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. Now, when we were in Ireland, as I said, we were the first ones on the ground. We were issued with a basic combat suit. Wasn't fireproof. Matter of fact, it wasn't even waterproof some of the times. Boots, helmet, a tin shield which is about 3 foot high, and a baton. In the 72 tour, they brought in the flak vests. I might be wrong on the date, but I'm sure it's that date. We were issued the flak vests, which were the ones from the American forces that they used in Vietnam. I think it was good for morale, but not if you had shrapnel too close or ammunition fired at you, any rounds. At one stage, we were told to sling our weapons. Now, when I say sling, I don't mean throw them away. I mean, put them on the sling and put them on your shoulder. And that was a very silly order to be given because we were in Flack Street, which was in the Ardoyne. And the Ardoyne was a place you never went unless you lived there or you accepted in. And there's the gardens and the old and new Ardoyne. And a lot of the boys refused to go out unless they had the weapon. And we were allowed to carry the weapon then, not slung, but in hand, not loaded. In that tour, we lost a couple of our comrades. There was Ilman, Delta 37 Delta, which was at the back of Flack Street Mill, the Beltex. Tony Meek in the fort. Giles, the end of the Brompton Gap, which we used to call the 100-metre range. Eppinstall, which was RCT, and he was about to leave the province and he asked permission to go out on a patrol. He was told he could, but he had to do as he was told. Apparently when the patrol got deployed up by the ring, which was at the end of Jamaica Street, he was told to stay with the vehicle, but he didn't. He ran out as last man and he got shot and died. The other ones that was lost out there was Soden, Brian Soden. I joined the army with Brian Soden, and it was a great loss because he was hit in the back, in the head, with an armoured piercing round, and it was the first time that an armoured piercing round had been used that I know of. And it went through the back of a pig, hit him, and took another 5 out with the ricochet and the shrapnel inside. So that part of the tour was devastating. And it's times like this, so when you remember them, the only thing you can say, I hope they rest in peace and they're happy where they are. I think of them every day. I joined with them. Tony Meek was one of my best friends. And his death was a pointless death because where are we at today? I'm not going any further on that part of it because that's political and I don't want to get involved in politics because I'll be hanged, drawn and quartered. Now the regiment is now stationed in Tidworth and it is the 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh. A lot of people call it the Royal Welsh Regiment, but it's not. It's the Royal Welsh. No more. They've done tours of Afghan, Iraq, Ireland. When I joined the army, there was 1,250 men per battalion. Today, I think it's about 650. And if you're what they call a battle battalion or a big battalion, you're about 700. That's still a long way from the number of troops that I joined with, but they still seem to be doing more work in battle areas, more work with the floods, more work in the UK. And like everything else, the British Army is forgotten. The veterans are forgotten until we are needed again. So whoever watching this, I just like to say, when you see someone on the streets, it's not a down and out. It's a veteran that's been left out. And if more was done for them, instead of sending the money overseas, I think everybody would be more happy. But like I say, I'm not going into it any further. I'll just show you a couple of the items behind me, because one of them I'm very proud of. You got the uniform, and this is the uniform that I wore in 1972 when we were in Belfast. You got the flak vest, as I said, was used in Vietnam by the American forces. You had the old green combat suits. They later went to disrupted pattern. I don't know what they're wearing now, but let's hope it's better than what we had. You had the old 37 pattern webbing. It's like that bandage you get. It was crepe. That's a posh way of saying crap. Because if you wore this and you happened to put a backpack on, the belts would come up underneath your chin, basically. And it was like a brassiere. No thought went into it. Not very nice to wear, but done the job. You can see photos by here, and that's me in 1972. I had black hair then. Matter of fact, I had hair then. That's my section down there, which is the recce platoon, and we were in Boundary Street. And Boundary Street was an area where we were in the end house, and there was a barricade separating the Catholics from the Protestants. And there was a little gate you opened to let people in and out. Dangerous area, because sometimes petrol bombs could come over, and what you've got to think of, them were the days when you didn't have CCTV. You didn't have someone that could phone you and say there was a riot on. You knew when they started hitting the barricade, and then you stood too. Ben GM. We call him GM because he was awarded the George Medal. He was the only soldier in the Royal Regiment of Wales to be awarded the George Medal. Bit of a character, brilliant with a camera in his hand, taking photos. But he bucked the system a bit, and I think that's why he didn't get on. But he's a friend, and you don't need friends now. He died with he had diabetes, and his motorbike fell on him, trapped his leg, and it was amputated. And he died of died in his sleep, basically, from over too much sugar. IPO. I think I'm having an IPO by here at the moment, trying to think of it. My Berlin ID card, which I should have handed in, but I liberated it, and I give it to the museum. On the other side, you got James Matchett. He was in the Welsh Regiment. He was awarded the George Medal for the action in Hong Kong. What happened is he went into a minefield because as a family went in and one of the mines went off. He went in and carried him out, and he went in about 2 or 3 times, and he was awarded the George Medal. Both have passed away, and like everything else, I hope they rest in peace and they're happy where they are. The luckiest person, I think, or one of the luckiest persons, is a private soldier named Philip Bunce. Now, Philip Bunce was walking down a road, and when he came to this section of the wall, an IED, an improvised explosive device, went off. It blew him from the side, and I'm not supposed to do this, but I will do it as a one-off, as long as you don't tell anybody, right? Naughty boy again. This is Phil Bunce's berry. Royal Regiment of Wales, cap badge, green patch. After that patrol, he couldn't wear this berry because if you look at the side, that's where the shrapnel hit him. He's deaf in one ear, but he's lucky he's still got a ear on his head. To be that close to an IED, to be hit with that much shrapnel and brick, and survive, his angel was on his shoulder. What we'll try and do in the future is get Phil Bunce up and try and get him to talk about it. I'm not guaranteeing anything because it's part of his life that he might not want to remember. But that is his berry. I was hit by shrapnel. And remember, don't tell anybody I've done this. I'll be in the naughty corner for years. And of course, we've got the general purpose machine gun at the bottom. It was taken out there, but you weren't allowed to use it unless you were given express orders, because it's a general purpose, GPMG, general purpose machine gun. Fires 1,000 rounds a minute. You were kept cop for fat and 1,000 rounds could have gone down the range. So you've got to be very careful with this weapon. And the other thing was down there is the lamp and the camera, the torch and the mirror to look underneath your cars, because you had to check all vehicles coming in just in case there was a bomb attached to it. This is a little bit on the Royal Regiment of Wales. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't, my name's Kevin Richards 042 or Bill John. If you have enjoyed it, I'm Will 71. Thank you. Remember one thing, if you come to the museum, I'm up here on weekends in the summer, April to September, and on bank holidays and when there's a military fair on. You're more than welcome to come in, have a look around the museum, but only please remember sweets. I love sweets. Thank you for watching, and I will be back at a later stage. Thank you very much.